This is another prep assignment over solving equations. So I have 6n minus 45, negative 9n minus 5. So how do we solve this equation? We want to isolate n. When you have equations, your goal is to have n equal to some number. To isolate n, if you have a distribution, you must do the distribution first. So we have 6n minus 45 is equal to negative 9 times that one is negative 9n. Negative 9 times negative 5 makes that positive 45. You have n on both sides, and you have numbers on both sides. So you want to move all the n's to one side. So I add a 9n so that this n goes away from this side. 9n, negative 9n is 0. 6 and 9 is 15n. Next, I want to get rid of this 45 because we want to have the numbers on one side and letter n, anything with n, on the other. So remember PEMDAS also, after distribution and after gathering up your n's on one side, you can always go back to PEMDAS as a reference. You have to go this way, look to see if something being subtracted. Yes, 45 is being subtracted from n. Opposite of subtraction is addition. We add 45 to both sides because you want your numbers to end up on one side, your n to be isolated. So 15n is equal to 45 plus 45 is 90. We divide both sides. We have a division. We have a multiplication, and opposite of multiplication is division. So we divide both sides by 15. So I believe 15 divided by 15 is 1. 90 divided by 15 is 6. So we get n is equal to 6. The next problem is 6 over a minus 3, 4 over 3. So for this problem, we have letter A, which is the unknown, in the denominator. And for this type of equation, where we have fraction on both sides and one term on each side, remember I told you you can multiply this denominator by the numerator here, and you can multiply this denominator by the numerator on the other side. So I'm going to just do that. I'm going to multiply that 3 by 6. So then I don't have any denominator left. And then I multiply 4 by a minus 3. And the denominator here is gone, and the denominator here is gone. Then we are going to distribute. 6 times 3 is 18. 4 times a is 4a. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Lastly, we want to isolate a. So if I go backward on PEMDAS, I want to look to see if anything being subtracted from a. I do have negative 12. Opposite of subtraction is addition. So I added 12 to both sides. 18 and 12 is 30. Then I have a multiplication with respect to a, and opposite of multiplication is division. So I divide both sides by 4. And 30 and 4 are both divisible by 2. 30 divided by 2 is 15. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I get 15 over 2. The next problem we have is 5 over 2 less than or equal to x minus x over 6. So again, these two problems are very similar because we have fraction on this side, fraction on this side. The problem is inequality, but we solve it exactly the same as if it's an equation. I'm going to multiply the 6 by 5. I'm going to multiply 2 by x. So 6 times 5, I have a negative x times 2. 6 times 5 is 30, and we normally put the number before the letter. Now I'll go on PEMDAS. I don't have anything being added or subtracted, but I have a number being multiplied. So opposite of multiplication is division. So I have to divide both sides by negative 2. But since this is an inequality, when you divide by a negative number, you have to remember to flip the sign. So that's the only difference between solving equations and inequalities. If this is an equation, you just go ahead, divide by negative 2, and you get negative 15 on this side and x on this side, and that stays equal sign. But when you have inequality, you do the same thing. You divide both sides by negative 2. But when you divide by a negative, don't forget to flip the sign. So if I would like to write x first, then the inequality sign, then negative 15. So the opening is toward the negative 15. So this says all the x's that are less than negative 15. Just as a review, what does it mean? It means any number that is less than negative 15. So all these numbers are solution to this inequality. And we circle negative 15 because negative 15 is a possible solution. So these are all the solution to this inequality. So we want to solve a couple of equations that are not linear equations. One of them is this one. So I have an equation. This equation has 2 factors on one side and a 0 on this side. And the way we solve this kind of equations is that we set each factor equal to 0. So 2u minus 1 equal to 0, and then 2 minus u equal to 0, and then we solve each one of them. If I have 2u to the power 2 minus 4u is equal to 0, I can't solve this equation as is unless I factor it first, and then I set each factor equal to 0 and I solve it. So right now, this example is already factored for us. I set the first factor equal to 0, then I set the second factor equal to 0. We look to see if anything is being added or subtracted from u. We have a negative 1. So I'm just going to add a 1 to both sides. I get 2u is equal to 1. We see that 2 is being multiplied by u. Opposite of multiplication is division. We divide, so we get u is equal to 1/2. To solve this one, do you see we have a 2 here, and a negative belongs to u. 2 has a positive sign. So we want to get rid of that positive 2. We do a subtraction. We subtract 2 from both sides. That negative, don't let that negative confuse you. That negative belongs to you. You need to get rid of that plus 2 by subtracting 2 from both sides. So then you get negative u is negative 2. Now you get rid of that negative. In reality, this negative is negative 1, so you divide both sides by negative 1. Negative 1 and negative 1 is gone. You get u is negative divided by negative is positive 2. Please pay attention to this simple problem. It has many points, and I pointed out all those things, such as 2, negative u is equal to 0. First subtract, then realize that this is a negative 1, then divide by negative 1. So these are very important points. We are going to solve this equation. To solve this equation, we are going to move everything into one side. So we are going to add 18u to both sides, because 6u squared plus 18u is equal to 0. So when you have such an equation, in order to solve this kind of equation, right now this is an equation with degree 2, or it's called a quadratic equation. So you make sure everything moves to one side before you solve it. Once everything is moved, then you decide what kind of factoring you should apply. So right now, I need to do greatest common factor, because that's the first thing you should look for. Do I have a greatest common factor? You have u to the power 1 as a common factor, and both terms have a 6 as a common factor. 18 is 6 times 3 times u, and this is 6 times u times u. So they both have this 6u as a common factor. If I take the 6u out, I'm left with 1u, and from here I have a plus 3. So then I let 6u equal to 0, or u plus 3 equal to 0. If 6u is equal to 0, you try to get rid of that 6 that is being multiplied by dividing both sides by 6. 0 divided by 6 is 0. Here you subtract 3 from both sides, you get u is negative 3. So the solution is 0 and negative 3. We have the following equation. In this example, we have a trinomial to factor. Remember, we want to multiply two numbers to give us positive 3. And when we add them, we want to get negative 4. So we factor this equation first, and then we set each factor equal to 0 and solve for u. Two numbers to multiply to get positive 3 are 1 times 3. But 1 and 3 gives us 4, not negative 4. How about negative 1 times negative 3? Negative times negative is positive, and negative 1 plus negative 3 is negative 4. So these are the factors. So I write it as u. I put negative 1 and I put negative 3 in each parentheses. And now I set each parentheses equal to 0. Add 1 to both sides. In the second one, add 3 to both sides. So these are your two solutions, 1 and 3. We have 5y to the power 2 plus 4 is equal to negative 9y. To solve this problem, we want to have 0 on one side. So again, I did the same thing here. And for this problem, we have to do the same thing. We want to move everything to one side and have a 0 on one side. And rearrange them neatly. Write 5y to the power 2 plus 9y plus 4 is equal to 0. When coefficient of your y squared is not 1, you look for greatest common factor. 5, this is what we have here is a 5, but 9 is not divisible by 5, so 5 is not a greatest common factor. And when that happens, to get rid of that 5, we multiply 5 and 4, we get a 20. We replace 4 with 20, and we replace 5 with 1. So this becomes y squared plus 9y. We change 4 to 20. Now I'm going to factor this. Look for two numbers to give me 20 and add to get 9. And they're all positive. This is positive, this is positive, and this is positive. So I know the factors must be positive. Two numbers to multiply to get 20 are 1 times 20 is 20, but when I add them, I get 21, not 9. How about 2 times 10? 2 and 10 is 12, not 9. How about 4 times 5? 4 and 5 is 9, so 4 and 5 are the factors. You open up two parentheses, you put y inside each one, and then you put plus 4 and plus 5, but you're not done. Remember, this coefficient is 5, so you need to divide this by 5 and that by 5. 4 and 5 is not reduced, so you move 5 over next to y. 5 and 5 is reduced, you get 1. So you get y plus 1. You must remember to reduce the problem, and if you don't reduce these factors, then you don't get the right answer. So now I was able to factor my original problem, which was that, and write it like this. Now I'm allowed to set it equal to 0. 5y plus 4 is equal to 0, or the factor y plus 1 is equal to 0. To solve the first equation, you subtract 4 from both sides. You divide both sides by 5 to get y isolated. You subtract 1 from both sides. You get y is negative 1. The last problem looks like a quadratic. It is a quadratic equation. So you do try to solve it by multiplying 3 by 1, which is 3. Replace 1 with 3. And change that to x to the power 2. And then don't put 0. Look here, I didn't put this equal to 0 because this is my equation, not this one. I just temporarily wrote that to find the factors. Once you find the factors, then you set it equal to 0. So this is 1, this is 3, then you try to factor. You want to find two numbers to multiply to give you 3 and add to get 8. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. Negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3, but if you add them, you get negative 4. And anyways, all the terms are positive, so the negative factors are not going to work. As you see, it's not possible to factor this problem. So since it's not possible to factor it, we are going to learn quadratic formula to solve this. And you could have used quadratic formula for this example, or you could have used quadratic formula for this example. So quadratic formula works for all the problems that are quadratic equations. So in this case, factoring is not a possible solution, So we must use quadratic formula. And this is how quadratic formula goes. We have ax to the power 2 plus bx plus c equal to 0. I use the letter a, b, c instead of numbers. So I can give you the general formula. The formula goes like this. The solution x is equal to b, you put a negative next to it, you put a plus minus, you open up a radical, then you put b to the power 2 minus 4 times a times c divided by 2a. So in our case, a is 3. A is 3. B is positive 8. C is positive 1. So we are just going to fit everything in here. We say x is equal to negative. I put a negative. B is positive 8. I put an 8 here. Do you see you have a B and B is 8. Plus and a minus. Open up a radical. Raise B to the power 2. 8 to the power 2. Put a minus sign. Put a 4 multiplied by A multiplied by C. A is 3 multiplied by A multiplied by C. C is 1. So that's C. That is B. And that is your A. And then at last, multiply 2 by A. And A is 3 again. So you have A twice, you have B twice, and you have C once. So now we are going to simplify under the radical. 8 times 8 is 64. 4 times 3 times 1 is 12. 2 times 3 is 6. 64 minus 12 is 52. And then you need to simplify square root of 52. 52 is made out of, 52 is divisible by 2, so you write it as 2 times 26. 26 is 2 times 13. So you have 2 2's. That comes out as 1 2, square root of 13. Lastly, you should break this into 2 fractions because that 6 gets divided by negative 8 and 6 gets divided by 2. Six and 8 are reduced. They're both divisible by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 6 divided by 2 is 3. The same here. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So you have 2 solutions. One is negative 4 over 3 plus the square root of 13 over 3. That's one solution. And your other solution is negative 4 over 3. Do you see this negative here and the positive here? So that's the solution for the positive one, and now the solution for the negative one. And those are your 2 solutions.